Not long ago, I found myself entangled in a situation that irrevocably altered the lives of several families. It all began with what seemed like an innocent joke, but it spiraled into something far more serious. I was right in the middle of it, playing my part, and looking back, I can see how it all unfolded with a clarity that still leaves me shaken. Let me take you through the story in detail. I'm 35 years old, married to a wonderful woman named Era, and we have a little boy who's about to turn 5. My life, for the most part, is stable and fulfilling. My close friends, a tight-knit group I've known since childhood, are all settled down as well. We've made it a tradition to get together every month or so at one of our cottages. No matter how busy life gets, we've always prioritized these gatherings. It's our way of staying connected, of keeping the bond we've had since we were kids alive. The rule is simple. Unless something truly urgent comes up, we drop everything and make time for each other. On the day that would later prove to be so pivotal, we gathered as usual. It was a warm, sunny afternoon, perfect for a barbecue. The pool was open, and the kids and the women were splashing around, laughing and enjoying themselves. The rest of us were busy preparing the food, cracking jokes, and catching up on life. The atmosphere was lighthearted, filled with the kind of camaraderie that comes from years of friendship. At one point, as the fun was in full swing, the women all headed to the pool, leaving us men to our own devices. That's when Henry, one of the guys, brought up something that had been on his mind. He mentioned how his son was growing up with a personality so different from his own that he sometimes felt like he didn't recognize him. Physically, there wasn't much resemblance either, and it had started to bother him. He didn't say it with any real suspicion, just a kind of offhand observation. Jackson, always quick with a joke, chimed in with a remark that would later prove to be the spark that ignited everything. "Maybe he's not your kid, then," Jackson said with a grin. "You know, they show those things on TV all the time." We all burst out laughing, the kind of laughter that comes from the absurdity of the idea. It was just a joke, nothing more. We drank a few more rounds, the conversation flowing easily as it always did. But then, in a half-joking, half-serious tone, one of the guys suggested that we all take DNA tests. "Just to put our minds at ease," he said. It wasn't that anyone actually suspected their wives of anything, but after a few drinks, the idea seemed to take on a life of its own. The more we talked about it, the more it seemed like a harmless way to settle any lingering doubts that, until that moment, none of us had even realized we had. After all, as one of the guys pointed out, none of us could be completely sure, could we? Only the women truly knew, and even then, not always. By the end of the night, we had all agreed, almost as a joke, to take DNA tests and reveal the results at our next get-together. It was a pact made in the spirit of camaraderie, a way to laugh off the absurdity of the situation. But as the days passed, the idea lingered in the back of my mind. I didn't have any real doubts about my son. He looked just like me, like my family. But still, a part of me couldn't shake the curiosity. A deal was a deal, after all. So, a few weeks later, my son and I went to the clinic to have the DNA test done. The process was quick and straightforward, and I didn't think much of it. When the results came back, they were exactly what I expected. Positive. My son was mine, no question about it. I felt a strange mix of relief and amusement. It was almost silly that I had even entertained the idea, but at least now I could put it to rest. At our next gathering, we all shared our results. This time, by unanimous decision, we left our wives at home. It was just the guys, and the atmosphere was a little more serious than usual. We had barbecue and drinks, but there was an undercurrent of tension. One by one, we revealed our results. Most of us had the expected outcome. Our children were ours. But then it was Camillo's turn. Camillo, usually one of the more reserved members of the group, looked visibly shaken as he laid it all out. "Guys, thanks for the idea," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. But Evelyn turned out to be a stranger to me. The DNA test came back negative. The room fell silent. We were all stunned. The questions came pouring in, but they weren't about the details anymore. They were emotional, raw. How could this have happened? What did it mean for Camillo, for his wife, for their family? Camillo explained that his wife had denied it at first, vehemently. But as the reality of the situation set in, and as she realized that the DNA test was real and couldn't be faked, she finally confessed. The truth was even more shocking than we could have imagined. The child, Evelyn, was actually Camillo's niece. His wife had had a fling with her younger brother back when they were dating. After the wedding, they had both pretended like nothing had ever happened, and the secret had stayed buried until now. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Camillo's wife spent weeks begging for forgiveness, trying to downplay the significance of the test, even attempting to get us to sway Camillo's decision. But Camillo, a man of principle, decided to do things right. He revealed the truth at his brother's birthday party, a gathering that included parents from both sides of the family. It was a scene straight out of a soap opera, yelling insults, even physical blows. The family drama was intense, and it left everyone reeling. I felt most sorry for little Evelyn, who was only 7 years old. She wasn't there for the argument, but later they told her the truth. Her dad wasn't her dad after all. Now, he was her uncle. It was heartbreaking to see a child bear the consequences of mistakes made by adults. The grandparents, too, were devastated. They still had their granddaughter, but the family dynamic had been shattered. Camillo's brother, who had fathered Evelyn, was now grappling with his own guilt and the fallout with his wife, who was raising hell but hadn't left him yet. As for Camillo, he's almost 36 now, and the experience has left him deeply scarred. He doesn't want to jump into a new relationship anytime soon, and for now, he's focusing on rebuilding his life. He's got his dog, but the family he thought he had is gone. I wouldn't wish this situation on anyone. It's a tragic reminder of how fragile trust can be, and how a single moment of carelessness can ripple through lives, leaving devastation in its wake.